let's start out with gratefuls today. And it's November, so we should all be really grateful or calling people with grateful calls. So I want to hear you share. What you got?
I got to see my niece on Sunday. I don't know. She's like four or 5 months.
I don't know.
She was born in early June. So.
All right, yeah.
Less than 10.
Around there-ish. I love that. What else? What else do we have?
It's not my kid.
What other things are we grateful for? Bucket fills.
I'll fill Tam.
See, look, it took her one meeting to speak up.
She helped me get a off-market listing for one of my monsters.
Hey, thanks, Spark Tam.
It was my listing, so it was good for me too.
It was a win-win situation.
Yeah.
What else? What else we got? I will hang out here in this zone for as long as you guys want me to.
Bucket Katie, thanks for the message this morning.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And the whole ALC, last week, we met and very thankful for the group.
They're a pretty good group. They're a really good group. All right, what else we got? What else is good? Hi, Kevin.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you? What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for, yesterday I had a person come in who was a youth student of mine when he was in 6th grade. And, we spent the whole day together, and I got home and Teresa said, well, how was your day? I said, it was, productive. And then I said, oh, it was really not productive, real estate wise. But I am happy that real estate funds my life outside of real estate. I'm really thankful for that.
Super cool. Awesome. All right, anybody else? Anything good? Bucket fills? All right.
Well, Bucket Phil Kevin, he answered my phone call yesterday and we had some kind of interesting questions on a recent transaction of mine, and he was available and ready to answer. And
Did he wish you a happy birthday when he answered?
I-
Oh, oops, that was awkward. There are moments where you put in mouth and it's fine.
It's more of like a celebration of life than like a celebration of another milestone or something, you know?
Yeah, right. Awesome. Thanks, Kevin.
That was so.
Anything else? Anybody else?
I have another one.
Yeah.
I saw on the calendar that there's a class that I requested on November 30th for a contract for deed and deception of financing. And I'm just so thankful for Candy or whoever did it, whoever got it on the calendar. I think that'll be super helpful. And
This is a really great point, that if there are things that we want to learn about, you just have to tell us so that we can find someone that is the expert in that area, right? So there are a lot of different things going on in the market right now. I think we all know that. And it's not just interest rates, right? There's inventory, there's unique conversations. Just share it. Be like, I'd really like to learn more about this. And we'll put it on the calendar as soon as we can, or as soon as we find someone that is the right fit to teach a class like that. Is that fair? Awesome. All right. Pam, I think you're up.
I am.
Oh, snap.
I'm excited for this one.
Okay, I wasn't sure how that was gonna look up
Do
there.
you want me to move so that
No,
okay.
you are my Vanna White. Here.
Oh,
Vanna
that's great.
So we're just announcing to the office because we can't publicly yet. I'm waiting on pins and needles. Thank you, Kevin, for helping me put everything together that's not for public distribution. So I do have digital information if you guys are curious. So this is Alex and I's new project, new development that's coming out. It's nestled in between Tonka Bay and Shorewood. And we have 11 total units. They are 5 attached, so 5 sets of attached twin homes, all main level executive living. And then we have 1 detached unit. They start at 1.25. That's all in. There's only a couple extra add-ons somebody might do, which is a wet bar or maybe throw an additional fireplace down in the basement. But, so they're fully finished. We have 3 interior design options. That's what Amy's holding up. So if you're curious, I'll have them in the back.
Neutral,
Natural.
natural, oh, okay, can't see upside down, classic. And modern.
So the cool thing about this project, I will say really quick, is that it was KW Commercial listing, actually. And Pat Loney, he's not in here,
Had passed these around, or is that not a thing?
no, I mean, if you guys want to, you can. pass around.
They're fun to look at.
Yeah. So I know I've said a few things to some of the agents,
I
you
know
know, the
what it is.
VIP agents in the office. I won't say their names. They've known about this for a smidge, but we're gonna go live. We're just waiting for Mylar's reports. They're gonna go on the market hopefully at the end of next week. But I wanted to let you guys know about them ahead of time. The move-in dates for these, of course, because we were dealing with 2 different cities, is gonna be April of 2025 now. And we do have, we're gonna build a model home. We're gonna have a spec home to start. But we won't start, you'll start seeing the earth move now. I think we took down some trees and the buildings are gonna come down anytime now. So does anybody know where the old truffle shop was in Excelsior?
Yep,
Like Tonka Bay Shorewood, and they've just moved now?
by Joy Novus.
Yep, so those are the buildings that we bought and the house next to it. So we're in the middle of tearing them down and then putting this project up. So it was a joint effort between KW Commercial and then us. Yeah,
Who's the builder?
good question. So you don't see the builder's marketing on here. It is down here, but that's okay. James, Bill guy, it's okay. So it's a Door Bespoke home. So normally when you see Todd Simding, it's architectural custom builds. They're usually somewhere between 2 and 3.5 million. But he partnered with us on our Edina project that we closed out and sold. Very similar product. And we sold that before it was any of them were done being built. And he is also the builder for these. So an opportunity to get into one of his homes without his big architecture. Yep, they're a 3-bedroom, obviously, with that information's all up there for, but obviously the target market is probably somebody downsizing or somebody has 2 homes. Maybe they live here and they also live somewhere else because they're very low maintenance on the outside. So. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, if you have any questions, you can ask me after the meeting or offline, and I do have more information. I can send it to you. You just can't publicly put anything out anywhere. And then I'll let you do what you want with the information. So if you want, I'll send this to you also because it has like floor plans, it has all the extra information and things like that.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, Sam. All right, this is just a reminder of Tutor of the Day. We have some new people, new faces in the Market Center. So we do have someone on every single day. You can also find this on our Facebook page. And I think it's on Peak of the Week as well, potentially, maybe in one of those emails. But if you have questions that have to do with contracts, negotiations, listing price, scripting, feel free to reach out because that's what this is here for. So a lot of times people are like, who do I call? I don't know who to call. Well, on each of those days, if you don't already have a relationship with somebody, reach out to the Tutor of the Day because I know it's been very helpful for some people to be able to connect with someone in the office. Any questions around that? Nope. All right. In regards to mentioning on the training calendar, we have a ton of really good trainings this month. So most of them on Tuesdays and Thursdays will be Zoom as well, I believe. But we do have a large one coming up with Aaron Kaufman at Minneapolis Lakes, which will not be on Zoom on the 16th. And it's really in regards to passive income in KW. So if that's something that you've ever been interested in, sign up for that because he's really good presenter at that particular one. We also have our R&R. Is that next week? Next week,
Yeah.
Wednesday. Then we have CE credits that are offered on the 28th, as well as the contract for deed on the 30th. Any questions around that? And you're gonna start seeing some CE stuff peppered in there. So like we normally see in like May, everyone does, 4 days of CE because they can only do so much in a day. Start going to these. If it's 2-3 credits, they accumulate and you're not stressed then trying to get 15 hours in right away.
There is a contract for D class. What time?
I have to click on that link.
They're at 11, so every Tuesday and Thursday class is at 11 o'clock. I am unsure on the location of that one.
On the Peak of the Week, this is at the bottom of that, and you can click on that link and it'll say where it's.
All All right, this week on Friday, to Wealth, this is one that's actually put on by the region. So this is you're gonna have multiple KWs that are there. Wisconsin, Montana, North Dakota, they're all showing up to this particular event. I've heard nothing but great things. I've watched some of the videos as well. That if this is something that you're interested in again, feel free to sign up for that. That's a completely different Eventbrite than what our normal collective Eventbrite is. Questions around that at all? Okay. Oh, this was, okay, so this is a short video for the Aaron Kaufman one on the 16th. So they wanted us to let you kind of see what that particular class is all about.
Kaufman, Chief Stakeholder Evangelist out of Atlanta, Georgia, and can't tell you how excited I am that your leadership has invited me to teach my innovative profit share building class, the KW Effect, to you in person on Thursday, November 16th from 10 to 1 at your market center. Now look, I've had a lot of success attracting agents to KW and building wealth through KW Profit Share, and this is really my chance to give back and share with you what I've learned along the way. Now this will be a 3-hour class. I'm literally going to talk about the profit share money for about 10 to 15 minutes. The rest of my class is what I call an unfiltered Keller Williams stakeholder meeting. And I am coming there to inspire you, but more importantly, I am coming there to empower you on how to get into higher level, more authentic conversations with people about our company so you get more purposeful about growing your 401kW. So if you want that kind of information, hopefully I'll see you in person on Thursday, November 16th from 10 to 1 at your market center. If that doesn't interest you, that's okay. That's just more profit share for the rest of us. See you soon.
Here's the other thing with that I just want to preface. Some of you are like, I don't care about profit share, or I don't want to whatever. What I would ask yourself is, have you felt like being at a company like Keller Williams has benefited you in some way in your business? And could it benefit somebody else? Take the other portions out of it, right? And I say this, and again, yes, my job is to recruit and grow the office. However, at the same time, I've been an agent at Keller Williams for 13 years, my entire career, and I honestly would not go anywhere else. Not because I haven't looked into other companies, right? But there is a very serious culture here of building a business, as well as supporting each other, right? What I would say is we do a really poor job at is getting that out to other people. As I know on Facebook and social media and all these other places, you have all of these, different brokerages that are constantly in your face, right? And I'm sure you guys get calls just like I call different agents, but I very, very, very strongly feel like we have an awesome culture and we need to share it more. And if you feel uncomfortable doing that, this would be a great class just to figure out how to share, like, hey, I care about this agent and I think they could grow their business here. Is that fair?
Yes.
Anybody sign up for it yet?
I think,
Awesome.
I do have to double check too. You kept saying at the Lakes office, but I think maybe it did because they are putting it up to.
Oh, they're opening up to everybody?
Yeah, so, but on the Eventbrite, if you register, it'll actually say the place, but it might not be at the Lakes office anymore.
Does that mean that it's here? I'm like, did they switch it to here? Oh, like it's like an off-site area.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
I'll see that. Check that.
Cool, next.
Hello to all my fellow KW state.
Greg, do you want to share about R&R next week?
Yeah, R&R next week.
We were just
Both-
talking about the last one this morning, so
Yeah.
good things have happened. at
Yeah, it
least.
doesn't have to go till 10 p.m. So that's the first thing. But yeah, it's been fantastic. We picked up a new realtor for the office, hopefully, the last half the hour. That's somebody,
He's fully in the classes now.
yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're making, better connections with somebody who's got a very large team that Katie's meeting with again this afternoon. Met my first luxury client that I ever had, over $1 million. I sold the house from it, 2 million, and ran into him too. So it's just awesome, along with the camaraderie and We had some great conversations, with agents I don't spend a lot of time with. It was fantastic. So I encourage you guys to show up and do that again.
Well, I think it allows you to find out more about people, like how they got into the business, who they are personally, and then you can kind of specifically talk about different things in a setting like this, which I find really helpful. I know when I was a new agent, that was like the one thing I'd go to, because I also wanted to meet other agents in the office. And at that point, I'd be like, if I can get in relationship with them, hopefully they'll let me do an open house or whatever else that they need. Or maybe they'd help me when I have a question.
Yeah, and the conversations that I thought were just, and Tony was there, we were, so we've got a huge variety of different levels of experience and we do business very differently. So we're all talking about, what you specialize in. And if somebody wants to get into a different market area, then we had great conversations around that. It was very cool.
Awesome. All right, the collective holiday party. So normally all the offices have different holiday parties. This year we are having one with all 4 of the offices. So it's going to be a larger group of people. You aren't going to know some of the faces, which is going to give you an opportunity to meet new people. That's December 14th. I think that the save the date was sent out a few different times on that. It's from 6 to 10 and it's right up the street at the Metropolitan Ballroom. A lot of people have asked about attire. It is cocktail attire. Some people will be dressier, some people will not. So whatever you feel comfortable with the word cocktail attire, that is what the invitation says. Any questions around the holiday party? Derek, are you wearing your socks? For sure.
I will if you will.
All right, next.
At leisure.
Where? You want to talk? Yeah, I was like, where'd you go?
Okay, so we have our holiday party that we've been doing for, oh my gosh, like, I don't know, 15 years or something like that. Any agent can participate in the party. The wreath orders are already done, so we can't order any more wreaths, but you can still come participate, invite your clients. It is the first weekend in December. It's right over in Wayzata at Westgate Church. It is a wonderful event. We have sponsors to help out, to have a cookie table and ornament decoration and coloring. Also, we have Santa and Mrs. Claus for pictures. And so it's a really nice event to just come. You don't have to plan anything. We have a sign up genius that's going out if you'd like to participate. Yeah, perfect. So just
I was like,
this
do you
event-
want to chat about anything else?
So just like this event, we have other services outside of transaction coordination, which I've been getting agents saying, oh, I didn't know that you do that. And so if you have a project, even just maybe a la carte, we can handle that on a per hour basis. And then we do database, social media. It's a small monthly fee to get those started. And it can really help out if you're really just looking for some extra support on your business. So if you think of profile, just think of everything agent leverage.
And what's great is that you know how to use command as well. I mean, you're very well versed in that. And we talked about, it's still up here. We talked about lead gen and systems and follow up. And last time there weren't a lot of hands raised that we have a system in place for that, right? So this actually gives you an option on that. If it's not your thing to set up a system or to be consistent with it, they can help with that.
Yeah. So we send you what to do, and then we follow up to make sure you do it. So we actually build the system.
Like hold them accountable to it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
that thing.
That thing. Yep. And then we enter all the notes, so then you have it forever.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh,
All right,
and I brought mini donuts for the meeting. So if I didn't offer mini donuts to you yet, you came in late. They're here.
Kevin, would you like to talk about a few things
Yeah,
that we didn't get to last meeting?
yeah.
Before we get back to them.
Do you have those?
No, I am going to pass, but thank you.
I had examples and everything last week, but,
To preface this, he's gonna be talking a little bit about the lawsuit. Some of you have followed it, some of you have not. With everything that is going to be said here, number one, still do your business the way you're doing your business, right? Because in a lawsuit, there are things, yes, it is. unless they're doing it wrong, like the things that you're talking about. This is where we are like black and white, I got a lot of gray. But he's gonna explain the things that you need to make sure are being done, just so that you're not affected, long-term on it.
Perfect, yeah. Kami's concern, I'm gonna get up here and say, stop what you're doing.
I'll just shut him
and all
down at
the
that
things are
point.
included. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, now's the time to make sure we're doing what is, what we say we should do. So now's the time to do that. So I'm gonna encourage everyone to sign, a buyer agency rep right away. When you meet with the client, that should be, done. And I know it can be an awkward conversation, but if it's just a scripting conversation, then you can figure out how to have that conversation. In that buyer representation, it talks about how you're getting paid. And many of you have been putting $0 or whatever on there. I encourage you not to do that. I encourage you to put, and I don't see all the files as they come in unless I go look at them because Matt's doing compliance, but I would encourage you to put what you want to get paid. So in our office, we tell buyers agents, you got to pay out 2.7%. It's a policy we say for a brokerage. We can talk about brokerage stuff in here. And so if you want to be paid 2.7%, you should put that on your buyer representation agreement. Right? That's because this is how you're getting paid. You should write that on there. There's a spot then that says this shall or shall not reduce. So I would say it shall reduce, and then whatever the listing agent shares from their commission will take away that cost for the buyer's agent. Another thing that technically you have to do, so I would encourage you to do it, is your client, before you submit your offer, they need to receive from you a compensation disclosure. And on that compensation disclosure, it should say how you're being paid. If you're being paid from the listing agent that 2.7% or whatever that be, then that should be on that spot. But also if you're if you're charging the broker admin fee, that should be on there. And that's supposed to be disclosed with the submission of an offer, right? The idea is your client always knows what's happening with their money.
So let's say on the payout from the seller.
Yeah.
the listing side, they're gonna do 2.5. So on that disclosure then, if you already have on your buyer's rep 2.7, what should that disclosure look like?
Right,
You're not gonna
so-
have them pay
That's
that.
a great question.
So
Katie.
I often say I didn't in the past charge the full 2.7. If someone was paying out less than that, unless I thought that person was a jerk, and then I would. Because if,
Recorded, by the way.
that's all right, because it's true, because that's how your document represents you, right? Is you have a contract with your client at 2.7, if that person's paying out 2.5, you can charge your client the 0.2%. I will say, make sure your lender knows that, because that could come, if they're close on financing, that could come on the title. You don't want to surprise the lender, all that kind of stuff. But if you have that contract, the buyer rep with your client, you're due that amount no matter what the other side is offering. Makes sense? On your listing agreement, one of the things I would stress on the listing side is that they are paying you as the listing agent, right? So as you take the listing, I list the house, I'm gonna use 6%, we're gonna list the house for 6%. Of that 6% that you pay me, I'm going to share with the person that brings a buyer on that side. There's a box for it on the listing, listing contract, and people should, again, they just wanna know how's that money being spent, should go on there. Go ahead.
Would it be more accurate to say that because you don't get paid as an agent, that they are paying the listing broker, which is Keller Williams? Then Keller Williams then distributes that money to both realtors?
Yeah, if you want to.
Because, one of the things that can come up in that conversation, which is helpful if you have to, is let them know that, there are fees from the brokerage to us as well. We don't just get that, and.
Right, and that's where you can rip out the dollars, you can show them how things are split up, whatever your script is in that spot. But that you want to make sure that they understand that 6% might be coming in, or 7, or 5, or 4, or whatever.
No.
Not 5 or 4, because you're better than that, but whatever those pieces are, But then this is how that's getting split up. And you understand that if I'm the person that's bringing, you still owe you're under contract for that percentage. What I'm doing is I'm strengthening your spot. If someone were to come and say, I'm not paying you that, you would say, no, it's laid out right here. Remember, I'm not hiding anything from you. We've had this conversation, it's laid out right here.
You don't suggest changing our script for how we come up with that percent and bring out all the dollars and say, you know, $3 goes to the buyer's agent. I mean, that's kind of how we said it before.
Yeah, I'm going to share of that. I'm going to share, my brokerage is going to share that with that side, right? That's, you can do whatever script you want. You don't have to change that. NAR is not advising us to change anything. They're just advising us to follow the tools that we already have and make sure we're using them. See, not changed. We like both were right on
Minus
that.
the 4 and 5.
Good.
Yep. You're-
Just another note, as I'm thinking through this, you know, one of the main reasons why this issue came up in the first place, you know, the lawsuit in the first place is about 5 years ago, I had a conversation with the attorney for the Department of Commerce.
Yeah.
Commerce. And he said, because it was in relation to broker admin fees and other fees that were being
Yeah.
charged by brokerages. And he said at the time, he said the absolute key variable for everybody to understand what the Commerce Department's responsibility is, their primary responsibility is that any fee that is charged in business professionally needs to be specifically identified as to what that fee is used for. If you start with that premise, then when you're having the conversations with your clients and you say you're gonna pay the brokerage 6%, it's probably a really good idea to make sure that they know where that 6% is going. You know, it's actually the Department of Commerce would probably say, make sure you're telling them where that money is being separated and where it's going, because then we're doing our actual job according to their laws.
Right. And broker admin fees are a whole nother
They are.
subject and different piece, which I know as agents, we love explaining where a broker admin fee goes.
Have agents not always done that? Am I?
What?
You, that was my response when I said, well, we're all good. And the other brokers are going, no, your files are not all good. Kelly's walking out going, no, people are not doing this. So that's what this is do what you're supposed to do. So you can say, wait, isn't everyone else doing this too?
But what about
But
what
to
it
be
says on the
fair-
second page of the contract though? Where it says specifically that X portion is going to
Yeah, now.
buyer's agents. I mean, that just started within the last year or
Yeah,
so.
it was
They
the new
renewed that.
last form, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that was because other people weren't explaining that, right? So just like a seller's disclosure, what do you tell people when they do a seller's disclosure? If you know anything, disclose it, because otherwise it comes back. Us as real estate agents, you have to disclose everything.
Right.
And I'm gonna be really, really honest with this. The only reason we don't disclose that or talk about it is because we are very unsure or unconfident of what our value is. And when they say, where does that 6% go? Or what am I getting? We're like, a sign. Right? Like, and that's real because people don't know how to actually explain that. So this is going to bring up scripting and conversations that most people do not have, right? Because it was, hey, are you gonna drop your compensation? Well, now it's not just, are you gonna drop your compensation? You're gonna have to hit on that hit that head on, what the compensation actually is, where it goes, and what your value is. So if you don't have a value proposition right now, or you don't know what your value as a listing agent or a buyer's agent is, you need to work on that, and that's okay. Zero judgment in that, right? Especially in the last 3 years, it was crazy. If you got your license, you're like, I was just really busy and I never even thought about that, but you're gonna need that moving forward.
Yeah, so I would advise a couple things. One is, in the speed of the last markets, I think we got away from buyer consultations before we go look at a property, and we signed a lot of things either on the short side or my transaction coordinator is gonna send this to you. I'm not gonna rip transaction coordinators because Kelly's here and I like Kelly a lot.
But she wasn't doing good.
I'm not gonna rip transaction coordinators, but if your transaction coordinator is doing all your work for you and you haven't read that, or you send it and your client signs it back in 10 seconds, there's a problem, right? That's a problem. And And data, when you do things electronically, there's a date and time on that. If I come to you as a seller and say, you've never shared that with me, your answer is gonna be, well, I sent you the contract, you signed it right here. And they'll say, well, you had it for 10 seconds. Right? Who's gonna be at fault for that? You could make the argument, you should read the contract, but you could also make the argument you've taken advantage of someone. So my job is to make sure we're all doing our jobs well and right, and we have a huge reputation out in the industry, and that's a good thing, so.
We also take scanned documents, just saying.
Yeah, yeah, so if you like meet in person and have them sign by, yeah.
So you're talking about disclosing every expense and everything, right? Like compensation disclosure, all that. So I've had people in the past, more often than not, ask, what does the broker admin fee go towards? And I've said, Lydia and Heather, and they do a lot of that stuff. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so the broker admin fee comes in for that. We do have administration that take care from the file being collected all the way back down, right? There's someone behind that's, your file's being reviewed, your file's being processed, you're getting a check, all those different things. The
So what
storage
was the
of the
script
file.
fee to that?
Yeah, because I don't know how to approach
Say,
that conversation.
Those are what it is say. This is a fee charged by my brokerage, right? This is a fee charged by my brokerage for the administrative pieces that come with closing the file and holding on to that for 7 years.
You can also just say profit.
No, but this is a really good, who has a really great script for this? Like, what do you say when someone asks about a broker admin fee? Like, who has a great script for that? Derek?
Broker admin fee is a fee that the brokerage charges on every transaction that we do. And it covers administrative tasks.
Awesome, Derek. Well, you just told me that the 6% is actually paid to your brokerage, so why don't they just take it out of there?
Because previously I did tell you that the 6% I take in and then split with the other agent.
But do you get what I'm saying? Like, if we say that now, like it goes to the brokerage and then and there's nothing wrong with that script, but that script might need to change as we go forward. And part of it.
It comes in different spots on the contract as well, right? Your brokerage admins. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can sort of break it down for them and just say, well, yeah, the brokerage has, because when you're explaining commission, they're like, do you get all that? Like, no, well, if it goes to taxes, this chunk goes to the brokerage, and then you bring in the broker admin. Well, the chunk that goes to the brokerage from your commission, that covers the daily operating expenses of the office and whatnot. Transactions come and they go. And there's added expense that comes with each transaction. So the broker admin fee has to be charged separately because it's a task that's done.
And there are all different ways to make your client who might be a fan of you. You can throw the brokerage under the bus. This is you can do all those different things, and the broker decides.
If you guys don't have the language or what your percentage of, in your cap, what that does, what that fee goes to, there's nobody who must be the best at explaining that than Kami. So understanding what the value of that money that goes in, that's, Shane said a couple of things about where that money goes, but there is so much that gets used for. I mean, Keller Williams technology that we use to actually market the homes, there's just a huge plethora of things that money goes towards that Keller uses it for. So.
I do think it makes a lot of sense to say it's on every transaction charged by the brokerage for the administrative task of that transaction.
I think
I was talking about our percentage of commission that we pay until we cap.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Broker admin fees are a unique thing. And so what Brahma brought up earlier is rest of stuff. You have to disclose where money is going and what it's for. It has to have a spot. Broker admin fee goes for administration.
Do you think that we could use, I think there's a really great script and I don't know it word for word, but it talks about the broker admin fee being, it's a fee that's charged for every single one of our files to make sure that it's compliant. Because this is a legal and binding contract and we want to make sure that you're protected as a consumer, that everything was done properly.
Yeah, that's
I mean, in that regard, I feel like once you say that it's a fee to make sure that everything is compliant and you bring up the legal portion of it, which it actually is, that is done with every single one of our files, or you don't get paid, right? That is very different than that's for the administrative
Yeah.
portion of it, right? Because I feel like, and I'll look that actual script up and send it out to you guys because it works really well. And there are no questions asked at that point because it is a legal and binding contract. And if you say it's for someone to review that and make sure it's compliant and make sure that everything is done properly, someone's gonna be like, that is absolutely worth my $500, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, so we also explain it too, in a way that, you know, your title, they always take a title insurance policy out on their work, right? So
Yes.
we're ensuring that everything is compliant on our end, and if we leave the brokerage, that is covered or whatever, paid, so you still have access to your file for up to 7 years.
Yeah.
Too. So it's another layer, you know, that way. We actually do it where we will pay it and we say, you know, it's part of a closing gift or whatever and kind of turn it the other way, but still show it in the net sheet saying, you know, we're taking care of this portion of your transaction.
So I think this has brought up a really great point. Thank you,
Yeah,
Kevin.
you bet.
We go back to scripting all the time, right? And just looking out here, being really confident in what we're saying as real estate agents, because you are a professional that's getting hired, right? You need to be really confident in the contracts, because if you aren't confident in those contracts and someone asks you a question and you're kind of fumbling through it, they're going to lose lack of trust in that moment that you know what you're doing, right? Like, and you also can't just kind of randomly say something, because then that's on you. So this is a really great opportunity to maybe go back into all of those contracts, as fun as it might be, and read through them, because there's been a lot of things that have changed over the years, as well as some of the language is really hard to understand if you don't read it all the time, right? If it's someone that has not bought a house or sold a house in 30 years, and they used to have like 3 pieces of paper that they sign, and now they get however many, that's super overwhelming. And I think, you know, a lot of times we try to like say, oh, well, this is fine, or we just go through and it's like, oh, that's just this, right? And you kind of rush them through that. That sets the tone to how you're going to rush them through other things or not give them detailed advice moving forward. Do you guys agree with that? How many of you feel really confident when you go into a buyer presentation or a listing presentation with the contracts? Okay, next time when I ask for scripts, I'd like all of you to respond to me so that I'm not scripting by myself. You're like, I'm confident, but I'm not confident enough to talk with it. Is that fair though? Because I think other people hearing agents do that, whether or not they feel confident or not, hearing you say what you say in your presentation is really comforting, and it's a learning experience for everybody. Okay. Moving forward, so we went over this last week, and I also want to apologize. Usually the second week is a numbers meeting. It just so happens we're not really sure on the international standpoint. The numbers have not come through yet for all of the sales so that we get to give awards this week. So again, we couldn't pull those numbers coming from that. So we're improvising in regards to probably having a numbers meeting a little bit with the ALC meeting next week. So if you came for that portion of it, again, we apologize since we don't have that data. But last week we talked about this chain, right? And we talked about kind of where the gaps were in here. When we talk about lead generation, I cannot tell you how many conversations I've had in the last 2 weeks from every single level of production on how do I find more leads? Every level of production, right? So this is a common theme right now. So I want to just get really, really clear in getting back to the basics. And I want a discussion here on what we're doing right now for lead gen and what's working well for you, or what you carried over since the last market. So right now, who's just crushing lead gen? Whether or not it's the activities or the results? Nobody.
I am.
Okay, you are. Okay, Rick, you are. Awesome. I'm gonna call you out on this one. What are you doing?
I am calling all of my past clients every day. So I've got a list that goes back 7 years right now, and I'm probably 6 years back. And I'm just calling and reaching out to them until I get in touch with them. And then when I do, I just talk to them about everything, learn about their lives. And then there's been quite a bit of follow-up. I actually went to, after my appointments yesterday, I went to 3 different houses of past clients. One, I got their fireplaces working. The other one, I stopped by and just checked on an issue that they had. It's a new construction one. And then the third one, I checked they're out of town. They wanted me to just check on something. So I was able to actually do something for each one of them. And I think that took a total of 1 hour and 15 minutes to go to all 3 of those houses at the end of the day. So that was, then I got to see 2 of those clients in person. It's pretty cool.
How many contacts are you making a week?
Between 40 and 50 a week.
Okay. How many people are making between 40 and 50 contacts a week right now? Okay, a few of us. Has that been normal, or is this something that's shifted for you in the last few months?
I think I made
Normal.
50 contacts in the last year.
Well, because you shared too, you're like, man, I've got a lot of people, I got a lot of clients, but there's no one that's motivated right now. And you even said it, if you don't mind me sharing, is, are they really clients? Right? And I think that's where we have to get very real with what our pipeline looks like right now. I talked to a lot of agents. Are they going to come to Keller Williams? I have to be very honest with that. Like, what did that conversation look like? Did they say they were ready to commit? Because if they didn't, they're like a 6 or a 5 on the pipeline, right? So right now, and I think we talked about this a little bit about A, B, and C, right? Maybe that was in our mastermind the other day when it was like the 4 of us. Getting very honest what the pipeline looks like and how are we going to feed it, right? Because it is not just people calling up anymore or people showing up at open houses ready to make an offer. Right.
So I just want to say something because this was really it was a big deal yesterday to me, that this happened. It's that one house that I walked into, they live 5 minutes away from me and their kids are the worship leaders at Grace Church. And I sold a senior pastor's house. So these people wanted to be close to their grandkids. So we got them this house. And when I reached out to him just to check in and say hi, I said, is there anything with the house? And he's like, yeah, the fireplaces aren't starting, all 3 of them, you know? And I said, well, the easiest way is for me to just pop by. So I walked into that house last night, not knowing that their whole family would be there. So the kids who are I see at Grace every single weekend were there. And all of their kids, there was a birthday party and there were 2 other couples there from my church that I didn't know. They were all having dinner for this big, huge party. I couldn't even believe he said, come over and fix the, work on the fireplaces. So they then said, oh, this is the greatest realtor ever, blah, blah, blah. All this stuff made me really uncomfortable as I was there to fix the fireplaces. Here's then they said, hey, this is about the connection. It's not about me. It's about the connection. It really is. So then they said, here's these 2 families at Grace, and I got to say hi to them and get introduced. And then they said he also sold the senior pastor's house and they're like Troy and, so it's just I never expected that at all. That's not what the expectation was. It was to go to that house to come from contribution and help them because I can, just period. And then all of a sudden I'm realizing, geez, I'm such a freaking putz for not doing this more. Why would I not have done this for the past couple of years? It's just so easy when you're face to face.
I think you bring up a really great point. In the last few years, a lot of us got very transactional, right? Because we were so busy. We were so busy that things had to go so quickly, so fast. And we were trying to press this easy button of like, hey, if I just send this text message instead of then calling this person, or if I don't really get in depth with what their motivation is, or I don't really get to learn about their family or their partner or what their interests are, right? It's really hard to re-follow up with that without having that conversation that's like, hey, I know we met in 2021 and things were insane. And then just checking in on whatever that transaction was and then getting to know them again. Because would you guys agree we kind of just, like, it was, people mattered, but if we want to be really honest, it was like, here's the next one, and then I got to run over here, and then we're doing this one, and then there's a house up here. Does everyone feel that? Did they feel connected to their clients during that time period?
Yeah, but it was so like sporadic. It was like a glimpse. It was
Yeah.
like, boom. Yeah.
I mean, do you think that those clients felt connected to you? Because
I hope
what
so.
I remember from that conversation, and I could be completely wrong, is I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off and I have a million buyers. And at that point, do you not believe that the energy that you were putting out was like, I gotta run to this next house. Okay, now we're gonna do this and we're gonna do this really fast. Because that's how you had to function. It was survival. Like it was just go, 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 go. I know a lot of you don't want to admit that, or maybe it's a reflection to think about of like, how did I function differently in the last 3 years of real estate than I did in my previous business? I can say this for me, when I was still selling in 2020 before I was in this role, and I'll share a story that's incredibly embarrassing because my whole business was on relationships, getting to know people, inviting them over for dinner, everything, right? I went to a past client's house this year to help them move. I was actually packing stuff up and the kids were cleaning out the house with me because I have a lot of those children, that is. And I was like, come help, because they need help and they needed to be like on the market in 2 days. There was a man standing in the dining room with a baby and a beard, right? And I looked at him like, oh, sorry, I would have introduced you to my kids, but I don't know you. It was a past client of mine. I shit you not, right? I just helped them buy a house in 2020 and I had no idea who that guy was. No clue. And the kids were like this. I was so embarrassed, right? That I had to like go, I was like, oh, it must be the beard. He's like, or the baby. And I was like, no, I just was running very differently, right? So I'm like, I know we've all had experiences, maybe not to that level, but that was a realization for me. You're laughing, but I guarantee
It happens to me
everybody's
all the
had it.
time. That's why I'm laughing.
Like, but we have to slow down sometimes, right? Because at that moment, he was referred to me by someone that I've sold multiple houses to. I went twice. I had a buyer's agent at the time that was doing the inspection, so I met him really one time. But he knew exactly who I was. And it was a moment of like, relationships do matter. And in that moment, I guarantee I am not getting a referral ever again from him. Not the other clients, but him, right? Like that makes an impact. So when I say that, I come from experience with it, where I think we don't want to reflect on that piece because it's like, oh no, I was running really hot for a long time, not really reflecting on how my clients might feel. Is that fair? So when we think of lead gen in this source, right? And again, we've talked about it in the ALC, accountability. Where can we find leads right now? That's a live
I
question.
started calling yesterday.
Okay, who are you cold calling?
I have a trouble just randomly cold calling without a purpose.
Okay.
Like I was telling a story, I get calls all the time. I don't know if it's the IS here, but we have a buyer for your house, and I just can't do that. Honestly, it doesn't come across right. So I take all the buyers in my pipeline and say, okay, well, where are they looking? And if I truly have a client for that spot, it just comes across more genuine. I have a story about the client. So I started calling a neighborhood. Also, I started having conversations, satellite maps, just calling.
I think a lot of people are like, I don't have a lot of buyers right now, or I don't have a buyer that might be looking in a neighborhood.
Give me some touch.
Would other agents here be willing, if their buyer can't find a property, would they be willing to say, hey, I have a buyer in this area. Do you want to call that area? And if you're like, hey, I don't have time to do that cold calling, but I'm looking for this area. Today, we're going to say wants and needs, right? Okay, someone's got a want in this area. Go find those numbers. Go door knock that area, right? That is completely how I built my business. I knew nobody up here and I was door knocking. And let me tell you, getting doors slammed in your face when you're like 23 was like a real problem for me, right? But I had to do it because there was no other choice. Where else are we getting leads?
Open houses.
Open houses. How many open houses are you doing?
last week I didn't do any because I was, anyways, but I usually do.
Moving on.
I was debriefing from the Parade of Homes and Artisan Tour.
Okay.
Anyways, I usually like to do 2 per week.
Okay, awesome. Where else?
It happens to be Homeless Youth Awareness Month, and so that's my source right now, going through everybody that I have in my database and talking about that and a genuine conversation with them and where it goes.
That's awesome, by the way. As you're talking about a month, it is the month of Thanksgiving. There is no affiliation to anything besides thankfulness, right? Because I think a lot of us get kind of awkward around holidays, like what if, or am I gonna offend someone or whatnot. November though is a time where if you are like, I don't know who to call, do you feel like this could be a good month to have anybody and everybody that's in your phone or you've ever met and just reach out and say, hey, I'm just giving you a call because I'm super grateful for you, or I'm glad that we met, or whatever it is, as a check-in. Like, this is honestly a super easy month if you don't like making phone calls to do that. If you got that phone call, what would you say to somebody? If someone called you and said that, what would you say? Would you hang up and be like, don't talk to me? Like, I don't want to sell my house? Was that what you would say? Derek?
I think it's easy. You can call your past clients very easily and you know what? Thanksgiving is coming up. I just wanted to tell you thanks for allowing us to help you with home search or home buying process, or home selling process or whatever. And with our pie giveaway, we give away pies on Thanksgiving, and that's a really easy way for me to call and just say thank you and offer a pie. And that's resulted in business in the past. I expected to do so.
And it doesn't even have to be a call, right? Because I know some people are like, I don't want to call. Awesome. What if you emailed them, but it was not like a blanket email? It was a personal email to them. Or if you're into social media, do a message that's personal to them. It's not just like a, click and paste, happy Thanksgiving, I'm grateful for you. Say something specific that's your handwritten note. That's huge. I can't tell you how much I love handwritten notes. And when I give them out and I send them to someone, there are a lot of people that will save them. I've saved every handwritten note that I've ever gotten. And I don't save a lot of things.
I send a family Christmas card, so I send out.
So and what I like about that, it's not a business card. It's you relating to them as a human, as a relationship. What else?
This is a really kind of a long-term play, but just posting things like information on social media. I was talking to Kimmy, I was like, I don't even know how I would have met this person in person, but like a news anchor from a local TV station is having conversations with me, and now he just asked how much his house wants me, how much his house is worth. So, and I didn't tell you that. Is it
Tell me that
it just
part.
just
You
happened.
just told me, you're like, oh my gosh, guess what? He's following me.
I was like, this person's following me, so yeah.
What else? I'm doing this to try to spark ideas, right? Because I know that a lot of us are in this spot. And some of us don't want to admit it, but it's gonna hurt in the next 3 to 6 months to 9 months if we don't hit it head on and come up with ideas and a plan to move the lead generation forward.
I think it's more just, it doesn't matter what you have to, in the down market, it's always trying to find the like I said, I've got 2 people with their and there's like you have to triple in contacts you're making. It's motivated. Well, how do I find somebody motivated? But part of it outside my house. No, but you aren't gonna do that. Right? Like, how do you find the motivated? Well, it's just a numbers game. You just have to contact more.
But to that point, and that's a great place to call these apartment buildings, by the way. I kid you not, right? Because leases come up all the time. And what is the question? They don't know what they don't know when they're renting. Oh, interest rates are really high. Awesome. Well, you're at, whatever luxury apartment situation. and you're paying more than even with that interest rate, right? Educate them on that they could actually purchase a home. That's actually a great spot to call on. If you're like, I don't know who to call, go find those numbers. And if you don't know where to find those numbers, I have places that you can find them. Just email me, come knock on my door. If it's shut, don't open it because I'm actually lead genning. And part of that is you can't skip a day of that. I came in late this morning and I had about 20 minutes before my 9:30 appointment. I shut my door and for 20 minutes, I made 14 dials and 2 contacts. 20 minutes. I just let that thing go, right? And I waited until Lydia knocked on the door and said that my appointment was here. I could have sat there and went through all my emails. I could have done all the other things I wanted to do, get coffee, talk about what the day was. And yet I know that every single day I have to make 50 dials because that's going to probably lead to 17 to 22 contacts, which usually leads to 1 to 2 appointments a day for me. Right? So you have to be so clear and so committed to that. Otherwise, you don't get to complain about the results of your business, right? Because here's the thing. Everyone's like, my business isn't up. My business isn't up. What are your activities? I actually don't care about the results at all. But if you're not doing the activities to get the results, you have no room for complaining besides looking yourself in the mirror and asking, am I committed to what I said I was going to do? And if you weren't, then either reassess your goals or go do the activities.
I think that right now is not having results, but make sure where this market's headed, like we're about the interest rates go down, the economy, whatever election, all that. Once that's behind us, this market's gonna absolutely explode. So just make sure you're in touch with everyone and just, hold on to your pennies until then.
Rick? Now I can count on 2 people.
I talk louder than Shane.
Some of your pennies over there.
Pennies, right? I think
Okay.
there's 2 important questions to ask. One is who wants to move? And we know the answer is no one because it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Who needs to move?
Who says it doesn't make a lot of sense? How do you know that?
We get to the next question. Because I think
I can't assume that.
99% of the people in real estate right now are gonna say that it's not a super fun time to move, right? There's a lot of conditions around, that's why we're in the situation we're in. So moving on, the most important question is who has to move? So let's identify some of those groups of people who have to move. Divorce, okay? Almost always there's gonna be a situation where there will be a need for a move. A death in the family, right? All of a sudden you're taking over your parents' property. Job transfer, job loss, which is now happening with some of these larger companies. And then one big one, which we need to be prepared for, is debt. So people do have equity in their homes because the market values have gone up every year for the past 5 years. So that equity is one opportunity for them. They're not going to do a HELOC at 10%. They're going to want to sell their house, reset everything, and start over to try to get rid of some debt. So we've got those areas that if we can focus on some of those, then that's an automatic motivation. So find those people or try to find those people amidst your friends and family and, everybody.
All right, we've got about 1 minute. Let's go through wants and needs of buyers and listings that we have coming up. Results of the no activities. Derek.
Great listing coming on in Chan, coming soon today. It's a main level living townhome. It's like 2,600 square feet. Nice neighborhood, private, and that's at 4,099.
What's the
ED 46 Autumn Ridge Way. Chan. Happening. We also have 4
That tone at the end.
4 available rentals starting December 1, actually starting today if somebody was really motivated. Downtown, Edina, Deep Haven, somewhere else. So contact me with your rental needs. We'll do short term, we'll do long term. We've got furnished.
I have a listing coming up in southeast Minneapolis near the university. It's 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, listed for $325. It's been a rental investment property, very successful over the last 15 years, so. Great for an investor, but there's been some remodeling, so it's, a family would probably love it.
What else?
Orno, 1 level living, 2 acres, 4,000 square feet, 4 bed.
Listing or buyer?
Listing.
Okay.
Nice 3-car garage, really great condition. It's just dated. But they built it in '88, I think. All fairly original, but it's immaculate condition.
Okay.
The whole main level could be opened up and be just wide open. Over $1 million. Still working on that. It was at 1.2. I signed it at 1.2, but I think I'm gonna urge them to come down a little bit.
What else? All right, well, if you do have ones that you think about, send them to Lydia. We'll send out an email for buying, like new listings. Also, I know that there's been a lot of talk about open house opportunities. So if you don't already follow the Facebook group, those are in there quite often of people looking for help on that. So when we're talking about lead gen, there are open houses that are available each weekend, if not 1 to, I don't know, I think last week there were like 6 or 7 of them. They're there. So if you'd like them and you can also help out another team, that would be awesome. So go take a look at that. And then and then there are like individual emails that are getting sent out as well.
2 listings.
Yeah, we have 3.
Okay, so there's a lot of open houses available.
I've got some really good ones.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.